sound check, can you tell me your name and the job that you did?
My name is Zoe, and my job was a freehand paintress at Portmeirion Potteries.
Does that sound okay? Yes, brilliant. Okay, so can you just, first of all, just give me a background of your experience in the industry, so where you worked and what you did, and just a little overall summary of your time on the pots.
Yeah, so I did a degree in ceramics at Bristol University, and I finished in 1990. And I am from Stoke, I'm a Stokey. So I came home and I worked at Portmeirion Potteries in Longton for about 4-5 years, maybe 4 years, from 92 to 96. So I was based in Longton, and yeah, I was a freehand paintress there.
Fab. How did you first get into doing it then?
Well, I have a degree in ceramics, so I went to Newcastle College and did my BTEC there, and then I went to study ceramics. And then it was obviously combining the skills and just a way of earning some money quickly, to sort of come home, and it was something that I could do, so it was a way of generating some money. My husband and I wanted to go backpacking around Southeast Asia, so the plan was to do it for about a year, but we ended up staying a little bit longer, saving more money, I suppose. Yeah, so we stayed longer.
Brilliant. What was the working environment like during your time while you were there?
I had a lot of fun when I was there, so there was lots of humour, lots of fun, quite dirty, and there were long days where you clocked on at 7:30 and you finished at 4:30. You didn't really get very many breaks, very much get your head down and get the work done. And what we used to do then is we used to have Walkmans, and we used to have a cassette, so you'd kind of put your cassette on and you'd go under for 45 minutes to earn your money, get your speed up, and then you'd sort of come out, have a cigarette break, have a bit of a laugh, and then you'd turn your cassette over and then go again for another 45 minutes. So my working day was, yeah, I would say divided into chunks of music time. So yeah, it was dirty, it was hot, but there was lots of laughter. Yeah.
So you think there was quite a big sense of camaraderie amongst all the workers there then?
Absolutely, and you would often see families. So on some of the machines, some of the lithographers or some of the other people who were perhaps brushing the ware, there might be a mother, there might be a daughter, a sister, and in fact I worked alongside my sister as well, and you would see that quite often. You would see families where there'd be several members of the same family, often doing the same job. So yeah, and a real sense of community. Like I said, lots of laughter, lots of kind of gangs of people who socialised and did things outside of work as well. So people had your back, I'd say. Yeah.
That's great. That must have had quite a big effect then when the industry was sort of declining. If an entire family would be working on the pots, do you think that it had quite a big effect?
I think it was absolutely devastating. I think, and you see it now around Stoke-on-Trent. I mean, I work for North Staffordshire Combined Healthcare, which is part of the NHS. So I see that daily. The effect of that around homelessness and mental health and poverty in the city. And I do think that sort of the decimation of the potteries and the mining industry, you could transfer that onto all of it, has had a huge effect on families and on communities. So, you only have to look around Stoke-on-Trent to see that.
That's very true. What was it like, speaking specifically as a woman, what do you feel like it was like for women rather than men in the industry? Do you feel like you were ever treated differently, or did you feel like it was quite empowering working there as women? Do you feel like, because we've had a lot of the previous women have said that it was women that kind of ran the show a bit?
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's an unusual story with me in that at that time at Portmeirion they were just piloting the freehand painting on biscuit. So we were known as the Longton ladies. So we weren't even women, we were ladies, and we were sort of behind a bit of a screen, kind of protected, I suppose, from some of the dust. So I'm not saying that we were part of the elite, but some of the people did look at us and think, you know, who do you think you are? Because we were behind this curtain, you know, away from some of the dust of some of the scrubbing. But I would say the majority of the workforce, a lot of the skills, they were women. A lot of the kind of manual work was done by the men, and I would completely agree. The women ran the show. The women, you know, the supervisors, you know, the time and motion man, he was a man, but I would say it was unusual to see a man, other than in management, but the women kept the place going, and I would say absolutely. And it was empowering, because you could see women earning money, and they'd often say things like, I'm leaving my brain as I clock in, and I'm collecting it as I clock out, and I'm just going to earn money today. And it might be repetitive, but they had a nice car in the car park. We used to have the Potter's Holiday, where the pot bank shut down. People had 2 nice abroad holidays a year. They had a good standard of living. You know, they were able to feed the families. You know, there might be 2 people, man and wife, working there. So yeah, it was empowering. People could earn their own money, you know, learn skills. So it did feel like, yeah, empowering to be there.
That's good. Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned how, because a lot of it was piecework, it gave you an opportunity to be able to earn a good wage.
Absolutely,
which was brilliant, especially for women, being able to have a job where they can earn a good wage.
Yeah, you had control over it. You know, you could make that decision to, like I said to you before, get your head down, and you would look around and there'd be a sea of people with Walkmans on. You know, it was serious business, because you knew that if you worked hard, you know, you would see it in your wage packet, in your little brown envelope on a Friday. And it was very much like that. It was very much go in and earn your money. I mean, I've got a job now where I'm not saying I bring work home with me, but I think about work outside of work. But you wouldn't there. You'd go in very much to graft and earn money and come out.
That's brilliant. So do you feel like there was quite a lot of opportunities for women to have quite important positions in the industry then? You weren't sort of constricted to one role?
I mean, I was only there for 4 years, but I saw there was that progression route. Most of the supervisors, my immediate manager was a woman. So yes, I think, and you think about the history of Stoke-on-Trent, don't you? And you think about, you know, some of the most famous ceramicists, like Clarice Cliff, you know, she was female. So I think you could see that progression route. But like I said, I think the women did run the show there, definitely.
Great. Do you have any specific fond memories of your time whilst you were there?
There was a lot that went on that was shocking. I mean, you know, I'm from Stoke-on-Trent, and I'd just come back from university. So, I mean, I'm not saying I wasn't shockable, but some of the language, some of the pranks that went on. Like, there was one guy, he was a kiln lad, and he used to stock all the shelves, and he'd got a terrible stammer, and a group of women took him into the slip house, and I don't know what went on in there, but they said that they'd cure him of his stammer. And actually, when you look back in hindsight, you think actually, if the gender had been switched, we'd have been having a very different conversation. So, I don't know, there was it was quite harsh. That feels quite bullying, really, but everybody was laughing about it. So yeah, there was, you know, lots of people, if they were getting married, they'd get stripped, they'd get thrown in the slip house. So there'd be a lot of that going on, and very much we'd finish work at lunchtime on a Friday. So there was a feeling around a Friday of finishing early and just going straight to the pub, almost that people started pranking around and stuff quite late on a Friday morning, you know, ready to finish for the week. So yeah, lots of funny stories, lots of different, things that went on.
Yeah, some of the women have mentioned how, like, a lot of times it was like a role reversal, and men were quite scared to go into the areas that were quite heavily female dominated.
Yeah, because they'd be sexually harassed, you know, and we laugh about it, don't we, you know, and I think back now, like I say, if you switch the gender, we'd be having a very different conversation. But it was almost just the norm. People didn't question it, you know. I was quite shocked. I found that quite shocking. But I also found it funny. So, you know.
Do you remember any sort of specific things that the women would do?
Well, again, kind of around when people were getting married, you know, when people got the number plates on the back, you know, getting ready for the hen do, you know, wheeling people around. Just, I mean, yeah, things like that would go on. And I just remember, now I've got like a flashback to it. Always remember, because it was so very hot there, because obviously there were so many kilns running, that everybody wore flip-flops. And I just remember most of the women had dirty feet. And I just remember that memory. So people would get changed, they'd have a locker, and then the women would put the flip-flops on, but people's feet were black, you know. People were dirty. The men were covered in slip, you know, the glazers, you know, it was dirty work, a lot of it.
So what sort of changes did you see as the, because you're probably the most recent era of fire industry that we've had
from the
today.
90s, yeah.
So like, I know they spoke a lot about how changes with health and safety and things like that. Did you see any sort of changes like that whilst you were there?
Well, there was one huge change which happened in my time, which was the banning of smoking. And I don't know what year that would have been, so somewhere between 92 and 96. But you would literally see people smoking around machinery, like breathing in all those fumes. And where we were painting and mixing pigment, you know, you'd have an ashtray and you'd be breathing all that dust in. And halfway through my time there, that stopped. And my immediate manager was a heavy smoker. So obviously she was up in arms about that, as was most of the factory. But obviously that was a health and safety, you know, that was driven by health and safety. But that had a huge implication for everybody really on the factory. It just meant that people had more breaks. So people weren't earning money, and it came down to money. So you'd either earn your money or you'd smoke, and that was a choice. So yeah, that was a big thing, and that everybody was up in arms about that.
Can you hear that background noise? Yeah. Sorry.
It's not so bad when you're talking, but inside.
When it goes quiet, yeah. Yeah, people kicked off big time when they stopped the smoking. But when you think about it, breathing all that dust in, it's really dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, and then when you think about acting in the jobs that like everyone did, it's just
Yeah,
almost like horrifying.
really, isn't it?
I think it's because they've got going up to closing and getting hoovering and everything. We've had such like strange noises.
Yeah.
Someone like playing the piano and everything.
That's quite nice though, isn't it? Adds to it. Yeah, that's not so nice. Yeah.
It's still rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great answers. Whilst you were working there, did you consider your job to be a creative job, or was it just something that you just got on with because you?
Oh yeah, I mean it was obviously a stopgap after uni. I never planned to stay there. Like I said to you, I wanted to use my skills to earn money to go travelling. But as a graduate from university, I was offered an opportunity to do some designing there as well. So some of those designs they purchased off me. So that was unique. But I knew I didn't want to stay. I knew that I wanted to get out, because I looked around and thought, I don't want this to be my life. Because I saw people who got trapped there. I guess I wanted better, I suppose. But saying that, I did have that opportunity to do some designing while I was there, and that was also offered to, I think initially there was 4 of us, so we were the original Longton ladies, that's what they called us. And then as that expanded, a few more women came, and they were quite young women, but that's all stopped now, and the actual building is closed down. Obviously Port Merion's still in Stoke, but they don't do the freehand painting as far as I know anymore. But I don't know, the industry's had to diversify, hasn't it, to survive? And there are still some big players going, aren't there, like Steelite and Port Merion. But so many of the little ones have closed down. And you used to be able to walk into any pop bank and get a job. Even, you know, I'm talking 25 years ago, aren't I? Even as recently as that. But I don't know if that's possible now. And some of those skills, I mean, I'd be banding, freehand painting. That's a really high skilled job, you know, but I don't know if people continue to do that anymore. But it's a shame because we've lost that heritage. It is sad.
So you said like you got to do design and things like that. Do you think being able to have those creative roles, did that make you quite proud to be part of the factory?
I suppose I was proud. For me though, it was a means to an end. Like I said, I knew I wasn't going to stay. I did feel proud. I felt proud that they were accepted and that they gave me some money for them. So obviously, when I compare myself sitting behind the curtain in the dust-free environment, being allowed to be creative, my experience was very different from somebody who was, you know, dipping in slip. Or there was one lady that I spoke to, her job, you won't believe it, was to manually put the holes in the salt and pepper. And that's what she did all day. I mean, and she said sometimes she felt like just freaking out and putting like holes where they shouldn't be, you know. But she could earn an absolute fortune doing that. And like she said, she left her brain at the clocking on machine and picked it up on the way home. Whereas I don't feel that I did that. I feel that I was able to learn some skills, and I still use those skills now. I work for the NHS and I do art workshops, and some of those skills now, some of those kind of freehand painting skills, I still use on silk, and I do pottery workshops with some of our service users who have mental health issues. So some of those skills, I've retained them and I'm still using them now, but just in a very different way, I suppose. So I do feel proud, yeah.
Is there any specific part about your time while you're working with pots that you miss? Is there a specific area or the friendships or anything like that that you'd say you miss about it?
No. No, because like I say, it's a long time ago, and it was a means to an end. It was a springboard for me to save up to go travelling. So it served its purpose, and I lost touch with a lot of those people. So I took the best out of it. So no, I don't look back.
Yeah, so I think maybe just one other thing. If say for example I was wanted to go into ceramics now, would you have any words of advice about going into that industry?
Into the industry, or as like a craft potter?
Either.
Just try it, just do it. I don't know how possible it would be now to get into industry. Obviously there's like Emma Bridgewater, isn't there, and like I say, there's Port Merion. There's still a few big players out here, but I don't know where. You see, there used to be apprenticeships. I don't know how you would, I guess, explore that and get into it. But I think in terms of kind of studio pottery, just do it. You know, try. Maybe go to a night class. Or we're here, aren't we, at the Spode? Maybe when it's the biennial, you know, do something. Try it.
Brilliant. I think that's all of my questions that I wanted to ask. Is there anything that you specifically wanted to?
No, you've answered everything, because I asked you about, obviously, I'm really keen to see the film. So yeah. And just like I said, the age of the people who've been coming forward. So I'm 50. I'm the youngest.
Yeah, like I say, it's been really interesting to talk to you because you've been able to give us an insight on another era of the pots, because we've had quite a wide range of people, but like I'd say the majority it was around like the 70s time.
Well, I was with my mum last night, and I told her that I was doing this, and in a way I wished I'd brought her, because she worked at Midwinters in the 60s, and she started there at 15. But then everybody worked in the pot bank. And then I was chatting to somebody at work today in the office and saying what I was doing, and she was at Dalton's for 20 years. So, you know, but anybody you speak to in Stoke will have either worked in the pots or they'll have family members, because it's the potteries, isn't it? It's what everybody did, but it's not what everybody does now. And I don't know, that is sad. Like I said, it's sad when you look at the poverty around here, because those kind of working class people where are they naturally going to just slot into if they're not going to go into education or into, you know, management? What are the options really around here? So I think when you asked me before if I look back, you know, do I miss anything? I suppose I miss that about my city. That's what I miss, you know, because a low-skilled person, you know, low-educated person could just walk into a job and take on an apprenticeship and learn some skills and actually could be earning really decent money, you know. And I don't know if there's that opportunity really as much these days.
So did you kind of see a difference? Because like a lot of other ladies mentioned how they would just leave school at 15 and go straight into the pots, whereas you haven't had a degree. Did you feel like it became necessary to have a degree or something in it to get a job in the pots whilst you were there?
No, because that was never my aim. Like I said, I went to art college. I got my degree in art. I came home to try and save up money. A natural thing for me to do was to get a job in the local industry. And my boyfriend, who's now my husband, he did as well. He was at Wade's. He was freehand painting the little Wade Whimsy animal figures. It was just a quick way of earning, you know, money fast. So I didn't need, I guess the answer, if I wanted to still be there and have pursued my, you know, desire to be a designer, then yeah, I would have needed that, wouldn't I? You know, that education. But I didn't stay. As soon as I'd got enough money to leave, I left and we went travelling. And I didn't, when we returned back to Stoke-on-Trent, then I didn't return to the pots because I didn't want to, because I knew, like I said, that I'd get, not trapped there, that's negative, I'd get stuck there, and there was other things that I wanted to achieve in life and further my education as well. So, and the same with my husband. So it would have been easy to get stuck there. And, you know, some people who you spoke to, you know, they couldn't see a way out. They couldn't see that they could ever do anything else. So there's some positives, aren't there, about that sense of belonging and those skills and that you belong there. But then what happens when the world moves on and you haven't got any other skills?
I suppose that's what made it quite so devastating for so many people when the industry went, because it was everybody's livelihood.
Absolutely, and whole families would depend on it. And like we said earlier, then a household could lose multiple incomes. You know, and we saw that everywhere in the mining community, in the steelworks. All kind of happened around that, you know, that sort of decade. And we're still seeing the aftermath of it now, aren't we, you know, in this city. So, I don't know. But there feels like a bit of a resurgence of ceramics, you know, with the biennial. And, I mean, I work in the arts, I work in community arts, and I know lots of people in the city that do. And there does feel like a bit of a buzz, you know, at the moment. And I think the biennial and I think the sort of redevelopment of Spode has got a lot to do with that. So I don't know. They say things are cyclic, don't they? And maybe we'll go back to it. Maybe Stoke will go back to its kind of heyday. You know, who knows?
Yeah, there's brilliant answers. I think I can pick loads out there. And like I say, it was fab to hear some from another a more recent era, because you talk about it, it wasn't even that long ago.
25 years
that's
ago.
That's not long ago at all, is it? So yeah, that's absolutely brilliant to hear. Thanks so much for that.
No, bro.